Hello everyone, welcome to this video for the summary of the day of the 15th April 2023. So for today we have some interesting informations. First of all, I will be talking about what happened, the major informations to the major happenings in Ukraine in the front line right now. So for the Zaporozhye front line, the front line is pretty stable with just as usual a lot of shelling. In the VUHLEDAR front line, we have a lot of fightings going on, and apparently there was a new Russian assault on the toward VUHLEDAR. There has been I geolocated one place, and there has been some map changing in the Novosylka. In this place, Novosylka, Velika Novosylka frontline, there is a lot of fightings in the small towns around Novosylka, and the entire area seems to be really boiling right now. Like there is a real, I don't know if there is an offensive, a push, but I feel like that perhaps it's not really a push from the Russians, but it's just that there was so many troops at this location and so many Ukrainian troops at this location that they ended up just starting to fight until the end, because before that it was some sort of a stable front line. Even though there was a lot of soldiers, it was very stable, and now they're really both sides are really sure about what they want to do is to remove the enemy from this area and win. So in the Donetsk front line, Avdiivka front line most importantly, there has been a lot of fighting going on. Not a lot of, even no change in the map, but there has been a lot of interesting videos, especially coming from the Vodiane area, um, Vodian, Severne, Tonenke, all these places. So southwest of Avdiivka, there's been a lot of things happening today and yesterday. In the Bakhmut front line, the city of Bakhmut is entirely collapsing. So, as I told you before in previous videos, the railroad won't be a border. It's just a railroad. It won't stop the Russians from advancing. And most importantly, a lot of people said that the Ukrainians moved back behind the railroad to entrench themselves, hold some new positions and whatnot, and even bring new troops, bring reinforcements or things like that. But you have to understand something, that is that the soldiers there, not only they're tired, they lack supplies, they are tired, they are under I believe that their morale is very low. Even if they were a bigger number of soldiers, even if they had the weapons, their mental state doesn't permit them to advance, to take back the city, because the city is destroyed. They know that the Wagner and the Russian army is pushing them. So even if they are more weapons, even if they have more weapons, I'm not saying they have more weapons. I'm just saying even if Ukraine somehow brought there a lot of weapons, a lot of soldiers, the mental states, even the new soldiers coming, will tell themselves, would think, I am going to Bakhmut, the city that is falling. It's not I am going to Bakhmut, the city that they have to liberate. It's the city that is falling. So they all already know that the tone is falling. It's just a matter of time until it's the end. So the soldiers in Bakhmut, the Ukrainian soldiers, want just one thing, is just to get the fuck out. They want to get their, because they do rotations. When they are here in Bakhmut, the only thing they are waiting is the date of their demobilization, the the day where they be allowed to go behind, to move towards Chasovia and have some rest or things like that, you know. Um, and finally, in the Bilogorovka and the Crimea area in general, there's been a lot of fightings going on, and this is the area with the most mapping changes. And it seems that the Russians are finally doing something, which was it's been a lot of time that town of Bilohorovka, which isn't, it's not a town with this many Ukrainian soldiers, but uh, even though there wasn't a lot of Ukrainian soldiers, there wasn't a lot of Russian soldiers either. Like the Russian army did not send to this town a lot of soldiers to fight and take back this town, but it seems that now the Russian army finally sent like troops there, reinforcements, and so on, and managed to take back a lot, to take like a lot of territories. We'll see that now. And just to finish in the Kupiansk and Svatove frontline in this part, there has been some shelling, a lot of shelling as usual, a lot of shelling, bombing, and some fightings. But it's really a front line where the fight doesn't occur. There is a little fight between soldiers. Beside in Kuzemivka, the whole front line is really just artillery battles. So let's go now. Let's see what it geolocated. So first for the city of VUHLEDAR, you have this geolocation. So here is the geolocation. As you can see, there is a sort of white tower behind, another one behind. There is this tree line. And look at the fields, the field colors. It's the most important thing. And there is like this half circle, this bow shape, this sort of semicircle. I don't know how to say it, but there's this tree line here. So the bow-shaped tree line is this one, and the view is, I believe, something like this. Perhaps let me just put the thing into perspective, and it's interesting because let me just show you. It's like this. So it's interesting because there has been Ukrainians here. So I changed them. I think I modified the map a bit. But what's interesting isn't really that there was an Ukrainian here. It's that, as you can see, there is no mountain. Like there's a mine here, if you remember. But here, as you can see, there is no fucking mine. So apparently, what we have on Google Earth is a bit too old because I think like this map is the dates from 2021, and well, compared to now, there is no more this mine, and I really don't. I mean, it's not really logic, but it's what it's the truth. I mean, as you can see, there is the towers here, and there is like the other towers behind here. That's those you see in the picture. But yeah, it's very interesting. So there is a fucking mine that disappeared between 2021 and now, and it changes a lot of things because now that there is no mines anymore, well, where the fuck the Ukrainians can hide? Because before I used to say that the Russians have to capture this mine, but I don't understand why they are not like concentrating their strength to this mine, because as you can see, this mine is strategically very good. The road from this mine goes to VUHLEDAR, and the mine has a good overlook toward VUHLEDAR. And no, I understand why the Russians are not like concentrating their power toward this mine. It's because this mine is not existing anymore. So yeah. And just to show you the map changes I've done, as you can see, I removed this tree line as being Russian, and since I removed this tree line, I had to remove this field. And this is unrelated, but I corrected this also this, because as you can see, I mapped it like this before. Let me show you again. Yeah, so for me, I mapped it like this, but it's fucking dumb, because as you can see, there is no tree lines. It's just empty fields. So the only tree line is here. Now moving on to the next geolocation, which is in the AVDIIVKA frontline. First, as you perhaps already saw yesterday, there is this video from Nivelski or Nevelskoye. of the Russians storming this small village. Let me just show you the pictures. So, as you can see, there is Nevalskoye here. There is the other part here, and the Russians used thermobaric TOS-1 Solentepioc heavy flamethrower systems on this town. And during the same time, they sent a tank, and if I remember, there was also a BMP with soldiers. So to ensure that the tank and the soldiers arrived there without being killed, at the same time they bombarded, like they used the TOS system on the city, on the town, sorry, to force the Ukrainians to hide and not be able to shoot the tank. Okay, so I don't. In the video, the tank managed to arrive there, but I did not. There was nothing else after that. So I don't know if the Russians actually managed to take the town yet. I don't know. So for no one, I just mapped it like that. I advanced the front line because if you remember, previously it was like that. Previously, the front line, the Russians were here. No, the Russians are, yeah, they definitely captured this part. There is no Ukrainians anymore here. So moving on to this, so I'm really proud of these two geolocations because it really shows how my mapping without, I know I'm like perhaps arrogant to say that, but it shows that the mapping is really the most perfect you can imagine. Because I did not change anything in this front line. Let me show you, for example, the 13th April or the 11th April. See, there's no differences. It's the same front line, nothing changed. And first of all, there is this geolocation from today. The video just like came out a few hours ago, like 2 or 3 hours ago, and you see this Ukrainian tank here, and the Ukrainian tank moved down the tree line. Here, so as you can see, there is the tank here, and the tank shot like toward the Russians. So as you can see, the same view, the tank like shot toward hit this tree line here. And what happened after is that the Ukrainian tank was destroyed. As you can see, I took the screenshot of the exact moment. I don't know, perhaps it's another tank that shot or some sort of shaped charge, like an anti-tank missile or something like that. But the tank was destroyed after that. So, as you can see, it means that yes, the Russians are here in this area, and that the front line is really this. You can't be more precise. And as you can see, I did not map the front line straight like that. I previously, a few days ago, I changed it to like this, and it's perfect because today also there is this geolocation. This time it's from the Ukrainian perspective. So this geolocation has been not made by me, but by Deep State Map. And Deep State Map showed here that there was a Ukrainian tank. So the Ukrainian tank was like this in this area, shooting toward the Russians in Vodyane, in this part. So if the tank was here, it means that there is no wait, let me just put back the thing. So yeah, if the tank was in this place, it means that there is no Russians in this tree line, because or else the Russians would not have let pass the tank that easily, or it wouldn't have been very safe for the tank to move up until here. But yeah, so the front line in this place is here, and the front line in this place is here. It's very too sad that there is no like geolocation in this place. Perhaps if there was a geolocation here, it would have been like a perfect like mapping. But we can't have everything in life. It's okay. And beside that, there is still heavy fighting going on and bombing on AVDIIVKA. Coming onto BAKHMUT. So there's been a lot of changes, as you perhaps already know. So BAKHMUT. what happened during these last days. Let me just show you what changed. As you can see, since the last video, this part was taken by the Russians. So the front line in the north collapsed. As you can see, the defense lines from the Ukrainians are not sufficient to hold the Russians. And it's really logical because, as you can see, the Ukrainians, like, I don't understand why people even are surprised about it. Everyone was starting to say the Ukrainians are pulling behind the railroad, but the Russians already were here, even before the whole railroad thing. And now that the Ukrainians pulled back a bit, they did not have enough time to create new like fortifications, which is why they just pulled back. The Russians followed them. They pushed them again. They moved back again one road behind. Let me tell you. Imagine the Ukrainians. They started to like fortify this place, but they did not have time because Wagner was just behind. Wagner pushed them because they pushed them very easily because well the Ukrainians did not have time to like do fortifications, and the Ukrainians then moved back another quarter, another block behind. But it is the same thing again and again. They don't have time to fortify the area because Wagner is already there behind to harass them. And don't forget that Wagner fights a lot during the night, which like prevents it makes it very hard for the Ukrainians to sleep, get rest, and create like fortifications and things like that. And yeah, there is two possibilities, two possible outcomes. Either the whole front line, like I have no doubt that this whole front line, this whole part will collapse uh, very soon, so everything here will get captured by the Russians very quickly. But this part, there's two possibilities. Either somehow the Ukrainians in there change up their minds and like tell themselves they have to fight up until their death. They won't surrender and things like that. And if they don't surrender, if they like are giving the last fight of their lives, then this part will be a real meat grinder. It will take a lot of time, I believe, to clear for the Russians. But the most likely outcome is that the Ukrainians are very tired. They want to get out of Bakhmut. Like it's not that they don't want to fight. A lot of these soldiers want to fight the Russians, but they prefer to fight the Russians in a town for a city that isn't like destroyed. Like they want to fight for Konstantinovka or I don't know Kramatorsk, but why like spend your life? Why waste your? They don't want to waste their lives for a town that is already 80% under Russian control and a town that is destroyed because the Bakhmut is destroyed. There is nothing like why losing their lives for that shit? Honestly. So I believe that what will happen is that the Ukrainians will just not surrender, but not fight uh, as hard as they could, and they will just leave progressively leave Bakhmut, and the Russians will quickly manage to capture out of this. Now coming onto the Siversky front line, we have Spirne. There is another geolocation, so there is no map changes. There's these geolocations are just made before like starting the video. So in the video it said that it was in Spirne, so it wasn't that hard. As you can see, there is this electrical plant, or I don't know. It's just this view. Um, there is nothing. As I said, there is no map changes, so the mapping was correct here. And moving on to the most important and pretty interesting part of this war, I would say, is Bilogorovka. So first of all, I'm going to talk about obvious the geolocation. So here, as you can see, you have a geolocation in Bilogorovka. In this place, you see the shelling here, the smoke. It's this view, something like this. Yeah, you see this big tree line, these tree lines here. There is the sort of mine here. It's the same place. So the most important thing is not the geolocation, but as you remember in this video, there is pushes going on here. Apparently, some people, some mappers, map this area as being also no Russian. I won't map it like that right now because I have no proofs for that. But what's happening, I think, is that the Russians are understanding that Bilogorovka is too strategic to let. It's been how many fucking months that every day in the report, war report, there is fightings at Bilogorovka, or fightings at Bilohorivka. It depends if you read the Ukrainian or the Russian reports, but there is fightings every day here. I don't know. It's like nothing changed. Nothing. How? How did the Ukrainians hold for this long? Well, first of all, as you can see, this town is surrounded by mountains. There is the river here, Donetsk River. There's the forest here. There is a lot of natural boundaries, we'll say, and the Ukrainians really fortified this area and took like good positions. They have a good view, good sight. They see every enemies at a good range. But it seems that but it's not really what allowed the Ukrainians to stay this long because apparently in this town there is there's just I think a company or battalion around 1,000 soldiers, something like that. Anyway, it's not like there's not a big army. What I want to say is that there is not a big army of Ukrainians. The reason why this town is still Russian is that because the Russians just concentrated their troops in the forest. Bilogorovka is next to the forest, of course, but the most important fightings in this place. And apparently now the Russians just moved, I believe, reinforcements. They understood that now it's time. They have the means, they have the weapons, they have the troops to finally bring really bring some strength in this area because before that the Russians were legit not doing anything, not doing anything much besides some shelling and things like that. But there wasn't a lot of things that was done here, and now the Russians are moving on the offensive and want to capture this town. And by capturing this town, it will help them to move faster south of Crimea. And there is again this geolocation of assaults on Ukrainian positions. So yeah, you see this explosion here. So the Ukrainians are in this place, and there is a Russian BMP and tanks that move to attack the trenches in this place. Yes, there's the vehicles I was talking about. So the view is actually something like this. Let me show you once again. As you can see, there's this electrical pylon. I don't see the tower here. One, two, three here. It's these ones. These ones. Yeah, the Ukrainians are here in this part. So first of all, the mapping is good because I had to change nothing. But if you remember, in the previous video from, I believe, the 10th April, I already talked about this area because there was, in the, like 5 days ago, there already was some fightings going on in this place. So the Russians are really moving, assaulting this place. So the geolocations from the 10th of April was this one, if you remember. You had like Russian BMP or something like that shooting on the Ukrainians here. So it's this view. So the Russians in this area shooting on the Ukrainians here. And two geolocations at the same area in this forest means that, yeah, there is a big push going on right now. And we shall see what happens. Now let me just hide the 10th of April and put back the 15th of April. And now for the rest of the front line, there is nothing that changed. And as I told you, there is just shellings and some sporadic fightings, but nothing really new to talk about. And something interesting I would like to talk about is that if you look at the ESW map, the Institute for the Study of War map, for them, this tree, like this forest parts, is under Russian control. So there has been no videos that confirms it, but they mapped before they mapped like me this whole place as Ukrainians, and they changed to just to mapping now this place as Russian. So perhaps they had the informations. The Russians made an assault, and perhaps they captured this forest. So we'll see if there is some real changes or some proofs. And I want to talk about one thing last, is that as you can see, the geolocations they use is mostly Russian. It's almost always Russian content. And why just Russian content is that if you look at other mappers, for example, Suryak map, which has a quite good map actually, but his mapping is based on, for example, geolocations made on Twitter. If you go on Twitter, there is the Twitter like geolocation, something like that, GeoWorld or anything. Anyway, so the Suryak map creates his map not because he has some intel information, but because he just uses the geolocations that has been made on Twitter. And the problem is that on Twitter, most of the geolocations is with Ukrainian footage, and I don't want to just copy paste what was already shown on Twitter. I want to bring something new, something different, something you most likely didn't see, or videos from the Russian side and things like that. I don't want to just like take the same thing that you can find on Twitter and take the same information that all other mappers have. I really want to bring something new about, yeah, for my mapping. So of course, I limit myself since I don't really check the Ukrainian sources or the geolocations made on Twitter by pro-Ukrainian things like that. But anyway, my mapping is really good actually without these geolocations. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you for the next video. Bye bye.